Hello, how's the sound? It'll come as no one's surprise that I've had technical issues this evening and I wanted to be on much earlier. Once again, thank you to my long-suffering wife and to Sultan Plays for sounds all right, is it? Sound is good. For helping sort through some technical issues. But we're here. Hello, Timothy Unwin, Weeby. Was that VB? Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor, Marius Gage, Johnny Rockster. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this late time. Yeah, I wanted to be on a good hour ago. But you know, technology. Things happened. There were buttons that shouldn't have been pressed. Let's put it that way. And here we are, finally. Sound is great. Thank you. Thank you. My Stream Deck buttons look a bit different. I have to manually mute you if I do anything over here. Just let the cat out of the room. We're good. We've got the Lore Shades of Doom on because today I want to talk some lore if we actually get to it. So we just, got the merch. Rocking the merch. How we doing, chat? Thanks for joining me on this Friday evening. How are you guys all doing? Are we excited for 10th edition? I want to talk about 10th edition. And I also want to talk about these lore ideas that I've got. Close that off. I'm feeling a bit discombobulated because that was all very stressful. I didn't know if I'd be here, but I'm here. Praise be the Omnissiah. Praise be. Got like 40 minutes of work left, so this will be good stuff. No, it might not be that good, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor. Okay, this might be bouncing along the bottom of a barrel. We might be swimming in the shallow end of the gene pool this evening. I really shouldn't be answering WhatsApp messages as well. That's the boys going on the war zone. Very excited by 10th. Praise be. Exactly. Praise be. So, latest 10th edition rumours. So all the toughness of everything is going up a bit. Have you guys heard that? Not all the toughness. That's a bit of an exaggeration. They are expanding. I mean, we don't get very much toughness 2, do we? 3 is about as low as it gets. There might be 1 or 2. And then you didn't really get over toughness 8. You did get some toughness 9, but Imperial Knights were toughness 8. Super Heavies were toughness 8. Toughness 8. And now we're getting some toughness 9. The Lion is leadership 11. Angron's leadership 11, isn't he? Things like that. Nervous Nerves. Evening all saying we're in guard. I know we're excited. Hello, I love the yes. Where is Winter's? I don't like the new army roster rules. Exactly. So even Grots are toughness 3 now. Are they? The army roster rules, we can talk about that, but the increased toughness at the top end is something that I've been arguing for a while. I think I remember saying like a couple of years ago now that, and then on stream at least a year ago now, that anything with a tank keyword should be toughness. Toughness Rhino needs to be toughness 8. Toughness Predator, Land Raider, toughness 9. Make Knights and super heavy vehicles toughness 10. Now, don't worry about let's have more expansion at the top end. Yes, so if a melter or a las cannon needs 5s to wound something really tough, then those things are going to be rare. There's going to be 5, 6, there's going to be 7, 8, there's going to be 38 of them. There's going to be very few of them, not 38. There's going to be 2, there's going to be 8, there's going to be a number of them that are toughness 10 or even toughness 11. But that means your strength 16 means something, still wounding on 3s. That means your strength, you know what I mean? They can up the top end. So real anti-tank means real anti, and it make it a rare thing. Leadership 11, strength higher, attacks higher. Instead of fight twice, this guy's got 3 attacks, but he fights twice, put 6 attacks in there. This person moves twice as fast. Instead of moves twice as fast, it moves 10. We saw a lot of this in the Demons Codex, where a lot of their special abilities were just baked into their stat lines. And World Eaters just have 5 attacks. So we're going to see it a lot in 10th edition, and this increase of this growth of toughness helps along that thing. It's a good mechanic is what I'm saying. I heard what they said about that. What do you guys think about the increased toughness? We can roll back round to the army roster, but let's talk about the toughness thing for a bit, unless you guys have got, like you're all in agreement with me. You're thinking like Winters is preaching here. We could do with a bit more tougher things at the top end just to make some of the really powerful guns really the only things that can hurt stuff reliably at the top end because they're really powerful guns. And stuff that is shooting something that's toughness. I mean, Lord of the big bloaty guy, toughness 9. Why not make him toughness 10? Why not make I mean, I don't know what the toughness value is of Titans, but that should be pretty tough. Plastic and paint. Thank you for being a member for 2 months. I appreciate you. Tier 1, that gives me a good opportunity to talk about the tiers. Tier 1 is a great way to support me, unlocks the custom images and badges. Tier 2 unlocks my personal Discord, which is absolutely pumping right now. Also in there, there's like a where I am in the world thing at the bottom. And do you want a game? And it's really broad for Britain, because a lot of the people in there are mainly British, because language. So they're all, you can pin in like the southwest of England, the northeast of England, and they're all organising games and things. The rest of the world guys are in a rest of the world bubble for now, but I'm hoping to broaden that out, because there's a few Germans and a few Americans. And America's a very small country, right? So if you're like, hey, I'm in New York, hey, I'm in Florida, it's easy for those two to get together and fight, right? So that's in the Discord. That's tier 2. Tier 3 unlocks all of those plus the extra videos, and then there are mega members for people who have butlers. They seem to get rid of sub-fact. Where are we? Love me. Well, I'll go all the way down. Hope we get some new night stuff in 10th. Will be pretty cool. Yeah, I think. Hope to get some new night stuff in 10th. Would be pretty cool to see a new design. I agree. Hashtag Winters agrees with that. Lovely to see a new. Easy to do, right? And I feel like the new knight design that we might get is the Dominus class for Chaos Knights, because they seem to be getting their own sprues. You're right, but not too many things should be that tough on the game. No, not too many. Say 10% of things, 5% of things, whatever. Would you also like to see the odd system so you need 6s and then additional 5? No, I think when it comes to what you can do is like 1s always fail to wound, 2s always succeed, like 1s always fail to hit, 6s always succeed to hit. Bake that into the rules. 1 for hitting and for wounding, like 1s fail, 6s always, regardless of modifiers. Put that in the core laws, make it nice and clean. So long as stompers, big choppers, can still wound anything on 2s with. Yeah, I mean, well, if you have like a strength 16 big chopper, it's going to wound anything up to toughness 8 on 2s. But toughness 9, toughness 10, maybe it should be wounding those things on 3s. Maybe. New York to Florida, day trip, exactly. Round trip. America's like 50 kilometers across. I knew it was tiny. Easy peasy, New York to Florida, just a short drive. Exactly. The small subsection of the USA known as New England is like 50% bigger than Old England. I don't understand math, so I think that means Britain is bigger. More remade Forge Welders plastic. Well, that's coming. We know more remade Forge Welders plastic. There's been lots more reveals for the Horus Heresy things, which is very exciting. What do you think of the new list building? 10th, they showed on Warhammer Community. It looked easier, only 6 stratagems. Yes, okay, so let's talk about how to build a list in 10th edition. Strength 20 is a beautiful thing. Yeah, so make strength 20 things. So anyway, so yeah, list building, I like it. So basically, you can have any of 3 data sheet. So there's a data sheet, there's a dreadnought, there's a termagant, there is a penguin, there is a land raider. You can have any 3 of them whatsoever and your HQ. But I'm assuming that you can also bring any 3 captains, any 3 librarians, any 3 this, any 3 that, because then you promote one of your characters to be your warlord. Because you could have 3 librarians, 3 chaplains, 3 there. They haven't clarified that bit yet, but you promote one of them to be your warlord. Any 3 of any data sheet, unless it's got the battle line keyword in it, and then battle line you can have any 6 of. So it's very Arcs of Omen, isn't it? It's basically bring a warlord, it's very Arcs of Omen data sheets, and then there is 1 epic hero per detachment, and they gave the example of Guilliman, but we can imagine it's going to be Guilliman, Mortarian, a Catan, the Lion. It's going to be anything that I'm not sure if it'd be Dante. He might just be warlord. It's any big chonky Gazgal, chonky stuff that would be a Lord of War right now. Yeah. So they've simplified it. They're basically saying bring along what you want. If you want to bring along a HQ and a bunch of fast stuff, you can bring along a bunch of fast stuff, because it doesn't look like there's going to be a fast attack slot, is there? It's only just any 3 data sheet. So that could be 3 skimmers, 3 bikers, 3 storm speeders, 3 penguins. So long as it's any 3 data sheets, and promote one of those characters to be your warlord, right? After the Ninth Ed catastrophe, I've been fully jumped ship to 1-page rules. Yeah, we talked about them before. But you're liking what you're seeing for 10th edition. Rules will be free, so give it a go. I don't think it is 1 epic hero, but a max of 1 of each epic hero. I thought it was 1 per detachment. I can pull up the thing here. I'll pull up the thing, unless you guys pull up the thing before I manage to pull up the thing. No, not in there. I'm going to my Discord. It's the easiest place to find it, because everything from Warcom News is tagged. How army building works. Yep, go there. Me. Small detachment, picking units. You can only include 1 of each. Only include 1 of each named epic hero. OMG. Max 1 of each epic hero. Nice. So you could bring at least 1 character which you promote to your warlord, and then you could bring at least 1 of each epic hero. I've got a really good narrative for you guys why Mortarion, Magnus, Guilliman and Lion would be fighting together, led by my jump captain. Because that's not more than 1 data sheet. That's 1 of each. They've probably got some kind of faction, keyword, thing, overline. You probably, yeah. Anyway, that's how that goes. Where are we? Hello, Winters, awesome glasses. Yeah, because we might be talking lore later on, so I have the lore shades of doom on. I wonder how that rule would change your squads. Like you have to run 3 squads of 5 Terminators, or could you run 3 squads of like 10 Terminators? 3 of any data sheet. So if you've got 5 Terminators, 5 Terminators, 5 Terminators, and this data sheet consists of 5 Terminators. This is it depends. You can bring 3 squads of 10. You could bring 3 squads of 5. And if the combat squad rule is still a thing, then you can combat squad off. Just run Dreadnoughts plus Terminators plus characters. Epic Hero is just the new name character. Epic Hero seems to be a thing of its own because you have characters and you bring at least 1 character. You must include at least 1 character. You can include 1 of each named Epic Hero. You can include up to 3 units of each datasheet. However, you can include up to 6 units of each datasheet with the battle line or dedicated transport keywords. Razorback spam. Each character can only have 1 enhancement. You can include more than 3 enhancements. You can't include more than 3 enhancements in total, and these must all be different. So I'm assuming that if you bring 3 characters, you can have 3 enhancements. If you bring 6 characters, you can only have 3 up to 3 enhancements. And I'm assuming an enhancement might be a relic or a warlord trait. So you can either bring this relic, which gives you this thing, or this warlord trait, which gives you this. But they could simplify that even more by, instead of having a section of warlord traits and a section of relics, just have a section of enhancements. And within the section of enhancements is your warlord can pick +1 strength and attack on the charge, furious charge. Or your warlord could pick a mastercrafted power sword, which rerolls hits rolls, so it's a relic, reroll hits rolls 1 better AP, something like that. And the warlord traits and relics are split under enhancements anyway, or just wrapped up in the enhancements anyway. You don't necessarily need relics and warlord traits. However, they have spoken about relics and warlord traits, so ignore all the things that I just said. As ever, in their community articles, the one like I've just read, which is, we answer all your questions. Clearly, here we are, asking questions. It doesn't answer all the questions, because they're always the, 1 minute, can I do this? Can I do that? What does that mean? And then, so I'm assuming that you follow those you follow those rules. A character, an epic hero, let's say in most cases, I don't know, at the moment in most cases people don't bring epic heroes. They are a must bring in certain lists, And please stay away from other lists, like the Silent King has been doing the rounds for some time now. And when Stonecrusher Stampede was a thing, like a Swarm Lord was definitely a thing. Is he going to be an epic hero? So epic heroes being a thing all the time, or being a thing some of the time for certain lists, we'll wait to see. But what will happen is there'll be a character who's a warlord, and there'll be some dirty lists, some dirty Arcs of Omens type lists, where you can bring 3 of this and 3 of this and 3. You don't necessarily need troops. How the mortar, how the gaps fit together, not sure yet. And then everyone's like saying, well, what about troops? What about objectives secured? Well, we've got OC on the data sheets. You know how that works now. So they've shown us these data sheets, and there's an objective count on each data sheet. So Termagants have an objective count of 2. And then you're assuming that a bunch of Termagants over here, and there's a Dreadnought, and a Dreadnought has an objective count as 1 or something. They'll take the objective because it's a Dreadnought. Whereas Imperial Knights might have an objective count of 10. Or an Imperial Knights might have an objective count of 5, but you could give 1 an enhancement, which gives it an objective count of times 2, 10, something like that. So you've got that. Basically, troops are still going to be very important if you want to take objectives. They're going to be the easiest way with objective count to take objectives. I suspect that most things will have an objective count as 1. Almost everywhere you're going to see an OC of 1. You're going to see some OCs of 0 for certain things that cannot take objectives, such as buildings. And maybe turrets can't take objectives. But most things will have 1. There'll be some that have 2. And there'll be all the troops. And there might be some exceptions, some weird things that have 3. But I imagine it's going to actually be a low number. The lower the number it is, the more powerful troop units become. Say intercessors, say Tyrannid warriors, say intercessors, Tyrannid warriors, say Cabalites, say these sorts of things get objective control of 3. And Chaos Cultists get it at 2. Everything else gets it at 1. But Chaos Space Marines get it at 3. So maybe 1, 2, and 3. You don't really need to go much higher than that to make that rule a thing. I mean, they could go up to 7, 8s, 9s, 10s. They could go up. It could get crazy, but what I'm saying is I really like the mechanic. It's very easy with very low points to make a very big difference between what controls objectives and what doesn't control objectives across the surface. It's a good one. It's like they thought about this one. It's a good one. I like that one. Agent Smart, thank you for 14 months memberships. If epic heroes are like Lord Invocatus, I don't think Lord Invocatus will be an epic hero. They may have bespoke data sheets. If so, they'll be pretty attractive option. No, I don't think. I think the Lord Invocatus will be a character. And you'll be able to take 3 characters, unless it says on its data sheet, you may only ever bring 1 of these. I think when we're looking at epic heroes, you're looking at anything that's currently probably 300 points or more. So you're looking at Gaz, you're looking at Be'lakor, you're looking at Mortarion, you're looking at the Lion, you're looking at Catans, you're looking at the Silent King. What else? Maybe the Swarm Lord. But I suspect what we're going to get is a Tyrannid epic hero model, something that we haven't quite seen yet. Because I think they've said that this Tyrannid release, this Tyrannid plastic release, get this guys, if you haven't heard this yet, is going to be the biggest plastic release they've done, follow-up plastic release they've done. So whenever there's been a wave of plastic for a pre-existing army, normally the wave is quite timid, unless it's for Space Marines, and the Space Marines tend to get a lot. Well, this one is going to be the largest one they've done. So a doubling of the Tyrannid Codex, or at least a replacement for some of the shitty older models like Lictors, Gene Stealers, Termagants, Hormagaunts. A lot of the small base, like the Gene Stealer plastic sculpt is like over 20 years old now. And they're on those tiny little 25mm bases. They could be on lovely bases, great big poses, coming after Terminators. So all the Finecast stuff needs to get resculpt. A lot of the troop units need to get resculpt. All the medium-sized bugs and bigger-sized bugs are still pretty cool, but again, the Carnifex kit is really old, so we're going to see a new Carnifex kit, see the new scribe. It's going to be good. Plus the floaty, the new floaty brain plugs, plus the model that looked like a Shrike but was too big for a Shrike. That wasn't a Shrike. That was like a half wing. I mean, what was that thing that stabbed the thing? He's got the chainsaw, like bzzz, with the chainsaw. He gets stabbed and he goes like, ah, and puts the figure on the tread and starts shooting, and it's like ripped apart. It wasn't Winged Hive's Tyrant size, but it's definitely bigger than Shrike. It's somewhere in between a Winged Carnifex type thing, or something that fits, something that is like a Carnifex, so toughness 7 with 8, 9 wounds, loads of wounds, but it's winged and lithe, and it looks good, doesn't it? Brian O'Brien, welcome to the 13th tier 3. Thank you for becoming a channel member. That unlocks loads of extra videos and things. Good. Nids definitely need a refresh. Eldar 2. Eldar don't. The detachment rules are faction specific. I expect it will be less new units than Marines, but lots of updates. Yeah, you choose Space Marines, then you choose which Space Marines detachment rules you want to use. Yeah, this is what's going to happen is you get the free rules, you get the free data sheets. Then when the codexes come out, we're going to get your faction rule. What Ultramarines do, what Beotan does, what Farsight does. You're going to get that thing. And what your detachment does depends on what detachment you pick. So you don't have to be a Windrider host or White Scars or Raven Guard to pick an Outrider detachment. I'm just using that word as an example. You pick Outrider detachment, you can be an Ultramarine, you can be a Tyrannid, you can be whatever you want to be, but you basically, I want lots of fast things, and you picked an Outrider detachment. And depending on which detachment slot you pick, and there'll be generic ones, and there might even be specific ones in the codexes for each faction, but there'll definitely be generic detachments. And I picked an Outrider detachment that unlocks these 6 stratagems and warlord traits and relics or something. And then if I pick the Gladius Strike Force, then I'll get this one. If I pick, my detachment is a sudden strike force, and it does this. So you pick your army, and then you pick a detachment for your army. They specifically said it doesn't matter if your Space Marines are painted white, they can still do what, or red, they could do what White Scars do, or White Scars can do what Blood Angels do, because sometimes Blood Angels will fight in that detachment, some White Scars. But it doesn't take away from the narrative in you either, because narrative players will pick the detachments that fit their narrative. The White Scars will pick the detachment. Oh, these detachments definitely pick what I want to do. Chaos players who want to follow the narrative, or Tyrannid players who want to follow this way of war, will pick the detachments that suit what they're trying to do. And that will unlock certain enhancements and certain stratagems for that detachment. It's a great idea. Competitive players will naturally go towards whatever gives them their most competitive advantage within their local meta. Which is what they do anyway. And then the difference, we'll see what the difference is in the actual game types. They haven't actually revealed any of that data yet, but yeah, you pick your army based on those, 6 battle line data sheets, 3 other data sheets, an epic hero, a character, promote to your warlord, slot them into a detachment of some description, and we'll see what the detachment unlocks. It says it unlocks certain enhancements. So one of the enhancements might be this detachment allows your army to fall back and shoot. This detachment allows your army to X. This detachment allows your army to Y. Something like that. So we need some more clarity. That's what they've said, that the army build rules detachment lists. That's how they say that shit works. Seems to make sense. We just need a bit more detail. I like it. Sounds good. It sounds like, yeah, narrative people will be able to do what narrative people do, and tournament people will do whatever tournament. It sounds like there's a sandpit there. Here's your army. I don't care if you painted it whatever you painted it. How do you want to run it? What do you want to try out today? Giving us multiple ways to run our armies, regardless of just multiple ways of running our armies. As many ways to play as we possibly want. That sounds to me like the right way to go, right? What do we think? What do we think? Hope they don't make all Space Marines the same, especially Death Watch. No, what I think what they'll do is, again, not confirmed, but there's, like, in the data sheet that we got for the Termagant, wasn't there like Hive Mind or something? Or it had some keywords. It didn't have very many. It had like infantry, High Fleet Tendril, and something else. So Space Marines will have a infantry, and they'll have chapter, and then you'll go and see what that chapter does. So just like High Fleet Tendril for Termagants, for Kraken will mean something else for this. So I think there'll be faction-specific things, and I think it will be small. I think it'll be simplified. I think it'll be one thing, and then you get your other things by unlocking the detachments, whatever detachments you want to lock. I worry the unique units from the different chapters may suffer. Okay, well, we'll have to see. I like how if I play Ultramarines, I could run it as all bikes, like 6th Company themed. Yes. And have buffs, a bit like White Scars. Yes. So the captain, what might happen is the Ultramarines faction rules, say the Ultramarines faction rule chapter rule is fall back and shoot. White Scars still might get their faction rule, which is advance and charge. So obviously their bikes will naturally feel more powerful than the Ultramarine bikes. Mind you, having said that, having a whole army with bikes that can fall back and shoot is actually a pretty powerful thing, because bikes typically don't tend to be that punchy. They're actually quite shooty. It's all about their shooting. And then the detachment abilities you bring would be exactly the same. So my White Scars, I'm bringing them with these bikes and things. My Ultramarines, I'm bringing these bikes and things. I'm basically bringing the same units, regardless of whether it's White Scars or Ultramarines, in the same detachment. That particular detachment will unlock you 6 stratagems. And in that might be double move. That might be if you advance. A strat might be you advance, your unit gets a 4-up and vulnerable save, so long as you're going flat out or something. There's things like that those ways of war, those advantages that Space Marines get when they're doing biker stuff happens to all Space Marines, because all Space Marines are trained in biker stuff. It's just that White Scars do it better, advance and charge, something like that. It seems to me very promising. I promise, it's like promises. I'm hearing the promises. They'll fuck it up. They'll fuck bits of it up. It's Games Workshop. But it's promising for now. Dats and Des, thank you for your 7 months membership. I'm simplified, not simple. That's what happens when you get older, mate, innit? It just, things, it happens. It's just, yeah. Captain, you're correct. Winter's talking distracted my typing. I don't think they're doing that, to be honest. I think the closest it gets to chapter-specific rules would be when the Codex comes out and they'll get a chapter-specific detachment. So yeah, there could be, when a Codex comes out, there could be a chapter-specific detachment or a couple of chapter-specific detachments. I think the easiest thing they could do when the Codex comes out is have your chapter-specific rule, and see, it will come across multiple sources then. If you have a data sheet, and then you have your detachment data sheet, which unlocks something or other, and then you have a Codex thing with some other things in there too, and the Codex says, here's a specific detachment, or the Codex says, here's a specific special rule, Ultramarines, is there going to be 3 sources? Are they going to put all the data sheets in the Codexes? And then when they update these free data sheets 4 months afterwards, because one of them's broken, the data sheets in the Codex isn't the legal data sheet anymore. You need to check on the latest balanced data slate to find out, oh, 1 minute, here's my Codex, and I'll put a line through that one, a line through that one, a line through that one, because this 6-monthly update balanced data slate said those aren't the real ones anymore. I'll just download those ones and print them out and glue them on top of my Codex, and there's the new data sheets. And then 6 months after that, the next balanced data sheet comes out and it says, no, 1 minute, revert them. And then, I'm sad now. I need to rip out the things and rub out the line because it's gone. It was core, and then, yeah, it could turn into a right fustermuck, couldn't it, really? I could see it go. I mean, Games Workshop would never fuck it up that badly, would it? Oh, no. it like and falls, and then the squirrel crawls into the corner, its little paw twitching away for the last time as its heart beats slowly to death. Poor squirrel. Points are supposed to be on the cards, so they are super beholden to balancing it from the off. Yeah, I hope it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. They've alluded that when Codexes come out, it won't supplement what you already have. It'll just replace it. So the datasheets might only be live for 2 months because a Codex. So, yeah, I guess that's what happened with the indexes, right? In 8th edition. There's like Codex, all the indexes. This is different. In 8th edition, all the rules were free online, but if you wanted the datasheets, you had to buy the indexes. And then Codexes came out. The Space Marine Codex came out within 4 months. So you bought the datasheets, and then you had... So, yeah, this time, at least the datasheets are free, and then the Codexes come out with all the new datasheets. That seems to me where they'll go. Don't replace the... That makes more sense. Yes, now you need the thing. But then all the datasheets aren't free online anymore. And I think if they left all the datasheets free online all the time, the game would be more successful. There won't be book bloat, but at the pace they release new books and balance fixes, book bloat is bound to happen. I'm worried a lot of the cards will be fact very quickly and out of date. Yeah, I'm scared about there's going to be some wild imbalances with some of the cards, but they can fact them quickly and they can change them quickly prior to Codexes coming out, right? Mind you, if the Codexes are already in print, then they might not be able to change them. So here's a particularly busted data sheet, and we know it needs a fact because it's a typo and it says 18 wounds instead of 8 wounds. And everybody knows that grots only have 8 wounds, not 18 wounds. This little grot is the most unkillable grot. It has more wounds than a Land Raider. But they don't change it because the Codex comes out and it was already that. So what they do is they just make grots 300 points instead to... Yeah. Winters, which Primarch would you most like to come back to 40k, and what would be the lore implication? Valdor. And this time he's taking out the trash. And the trash could mean all the Primarchs, good or bad. GW's way of trying to help the player base get in better shape. Are there any good books about the Blood Angels? No, none whatsoever. Except for maybe in the Solar War. What was it called? The one that ADB did. Book 7 in the Solar War. That one's really good. But no. Unless you really like the Devastation of Baal and all the Tyrannid stuff. Now, some people will really like it, but don't read Devastation of Baal before you read the Dante book. It actually follows on. So read Dante, then read Devastation of Baal. They're probably the two better Blood Angels books, and some people really like them and think they're awesome. Some people do. 300 point grot, yeah. Panda, when I play Horizon, yeah, the books are heavy for Devastation of Baal was cool. Mentioned that. Valdor Theory would be epic. Valdor coming back. He's in extant space with a bunch of custodies and some pariahs. Their whole army ready to... No one really knows where he went to after the Horus Heresy. The Dante series and Mephiston series are pretty good. Yeah, I think it goes... You got to read Dante first, and then basically don't just... I mean, Devastation of Baal is a standalone book, but it's probably better if you read Dante and Mephiston beforehand because it really gives you some... They're the best. I'd read those three. Yeah. Keep up the good work, Winters. Thank you. Agree, Dante before Baal. See? Yeah. So, what did we talk about? We talked about toughness. Toughness is going up on some things on the top end. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. We need more guns, particularly at the top end. Like Knights should be toughness 9 or 10. Super heavy tanks, tougher. Rhino. I mean, how many times do vehicles get one shot across the other side of the battlefield? We notice that the AP is getting toned down. AP creep is a thing. So AP down, toughness up on some bespoke units. A tank needs to feel more like a tank and really needs to get hit by anti-tank to die. And then some proper anti. Then we talked about the data sheets and how they work, how you build an army together. And it's still not 100% clear. But the general feel is you can basically bring along what you want. And that unlocks certain detachments. So if you bring a more elite army with the Terminators and Dreadnoughts, it'll unlock some things from that detachment that you can use. And if you bring a faster one, it'll unlock some things from that detachment that you can use. So I like that idea. It's ripe for abuse. But here's the thing. At tournament level, rather than nerf everything into the ground or do a balanced data sheet or change the points or do da-da-da-da, if a certain detachment is seen to be broken, tournament players can say the Gladius Strike Force detachment is not, you can't take that one. Take all the other ones. And there'll be 107 at least other detachments, because it's 40k. By the time we get a good couple of years in, there'll be 300, there'll be a lot, there'll be more than 42. And yeah, at the tournament scene, they can say, well, this one's a bit bust, don't take that one. And say it is like the Supreme, I don't know, the Supremes singing. Thoughts on future with no rules in codexes, pure hobby lore? Yes, I said that quite a lot in the last live stream and the one before then, so don't want to repeat myself. But if future codexes don't have any rules in whatsoever and it all stays in data sheets and blah, 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 then that is, I think, the most accessible version of this hobby that we could hope for. It allows them to fix data sheets and rules in real time online, and then release a press thing saying, hey, those ones that you got, get rid of them. Get rid of the Gene Stealer one and get rid of the Scout Walkers one, because we've changed this here and this here. These are still free. They're still online. You can download them. It would keep the game as balanced as it possibly could be. It would make the game as accessible as it possibly could be, because all the rules for all the stuff would be free all the time. And then the only thing you would need the codexes for is because the codexes are beautiful. And then how would they make money? Because the rules are free. Well, they'd make money on all the codexes that they sell, but they can sell Maelstrom of War cards to everyone, to every particular army instead of a codex. Boom, that's done. And then they have the nice shiny data sheets of the stuff that's, even if you can't sell all the little data sheets, because some of them change, you'll have the detachment sheet that you can sell. There's still ways that they can sell to make money. That's the best way to do it, but I don't think it's going to go that way. I think we're going to get, people have already confirmed, and I think they've already confirmed that all the data sheets will be free at word go, and then when the codexes come out, there'll be the updated version. Then there will, maybe not in the first one for Space Marines, maybe not in the first one for Tyranids, but certainly 2 years down the line. Well, in the Space Marines Codex and in the Tyranids Codex, there'll be all the data sheets in there, is what I want to say, but they probably won't change, won't be any different from all the free ones that were released. Probably. But when the other stuff really... Anyway, yeah. I think they're coming out in the codexes. Because they like selling books. Do you know if there will be custom-made detachments for narrative play if I didn't want to play a set one? Well, I think the detachments will automatically allow narrative play, because you can bring three of anything, of any data sheet. And also when it comes to narrative play, then you don't even have to use you can play what you want to play. If you're playing a narrative mission, if I'm playing a narrative mission and I wanted to play a mission and it's only got tanks in it, and it's going against walls and walls and walls of guard, then I'm playing that game. It doesn't matter. Its narrative isn't necessarily about balance. I've played a chunk of narrative games where we know one army is going to lose, but the question is, do they lose in the first 2 turns? Do they get walked over? Or do they hold out and make an impressive last stand and really make the enemy bleed? And the reason why we're playing this one is because next week we're playing another mission. And if you walked over me really, really quickly, then you automatically go first this week, and it's this sort of mission. And I haven't got any defensive positions set up, and I'm not allowed to bring any. I haven't got any of my bigger guns ready to go. So we're going to play this sort of mission because you walked over me last time, or because you got really bogged down and I had some hero stuff going on and you were only able to get a partial victory for the end of the game. Then this time when you go up against me this week, I'll have all the setup positions, I'll have all the tanks ready to go, and we're still playing a 2,000 point versus 2,000 point, but your battle is harder to do. And then if you win, great. If you lose, great. The dice will tell you the story. It's narrative. It's you don't really need to follow any detachment organization when you're doing narrative. You can if you want to, and bringing 3 of anything is a more flexible, organized way of playing narrative than there has been since 7th edition or Horus Heresy Rites of War. What's your favorite book? My favorite book. What is my favorite book? Last Chance to See by Douglas Adams. As long as I get angry, choppy, fluffy detachment from Black Panther, I mean, like chapter tactics, the Gladius thing. They are set presets, right? Yeah, chapter tactic. Certain chapter tactics will be set presets, like Blood Angels have chapter tactics, Ultramarines have chapter tactics. Look at the Chaos Space Marine book. There was no pick your own chapter tactic. You had to pick one of the ones that was available. So chapter tactics are going to be preset, but detachments will unlock other things regardless of what your chapter tactic is. Winters, do you think GW has taken inspiration from specialists in shooter with the detachments, i.e. there will be quite a set in what you take, so they're harder to break? Hope that makes sense. No, it doesn't at all. And I don't think Games Workshop takes inspiration from anyone. I think Games Workshop thinks it knows better than anyone, and it's yeah, they're full of games writers and rules writers that have worked there for a very long time. They're a leader in the industry, and they think everyone takes inspiration from them. I think that's how it works. It took them 2 editions to realise that USRs are a thing. They dropped them in 7th, and they're returning them in 10th. They dropped them at the end of 7th, returning them in 10th. There's going to be much less of them, like Twin Linked, Feel No Pain, Deep Strike, Objective Secured, but they didn't really go away because My Disgustingly Resilient and your Warp Spawn or your Catalyst was the same thing, just 2 different names. So USRs didn't go anyway. I mean, what do they think infantry is or vehicle is? These are essentially universal special rules are a name or some names which means this rule. So Feel No Pain means 5-up reroll wound rolls. Vehicle means something. Twin linked means something. Character means something. I hope independent characters attach to things again. I think they have. I'd like to see them, because you can get drones attaching to battle suits now, and you can get little Gribblies attaching to big Gribblies now. You can have the Leagues of Broken with the floating things next to the Cyber Priest now. You get loads of rules dynamics in 40k where things of different toughness or wounds values now stick together. So having something, that was one of the problems with the independent character special rule when it was a thing. So having just a HQ like a captain, a librarian, or something attached to a unit rather than you say, look, he's in that unit, that's it, and then they stay in that unit until that unit dies. It could be simpler than the Horus Heresy object independent character thing, and they get to run off and do all the, and then it just affects that unit, and their things buff that unit rather than this aura crap. That would be a lot cleaner. And then when that unit charges, You don't roll for the captain and the guy separately. That unit charges. When that unit takes a psychic attack, there's a librarian in there. It's got some psychic defense. I think I'd like to see that rule back, but we'll see what happens with independent character. Wait, Winters won a trophy? Why didn't I? How do people know I won the trophy? I don't ever mention that I am the 2021 No Retreat Legend to Legends champion. I don't think... You've got to be humble. 8th was a big departure from the previous editions. They've just realised the value of USRs. They have. Basically, they didn't go away. They put them... They gave them all different names and put them on different data sheets, but the rules were still there. They didn't go away. They just made it complicated. The other thing that they realised isn't valuable either is power, because power came in at 8th and 9th, and now power's going away again. It's back to points. One of the arguments for introducing power beforehand instead of points is because power's a lot easier to do. You can say 50 power. You can say it's easier to do. But I also think there was a second reason for it, because also in the 8th and throughout most of 9th, the points for getting all... You could have, like, if anyone out there who played Space Marines, who were like Tactical Marine, Space Marine, 18 points. And then underneath that, there'd be like a list of 300 things. Chainsword, 1 point. Power Claw, point. Melter Bombs, point. All the way down, Las Cannon. And it's... That's another reason for bringing in power, because to balance the game as much as they can, they split up. They really tweak those points. Do we need that? I think at the end of 9th, the points that we have now, where most things just come with what they come with, except for certain exceptions like a Thunderhammer or a Jump Pack, or like Plague Marines, everything's free. Tactical Marines, everything's free. Death Watch, which can get some scary combinations, actually went up in points, but everything's free. That's an easier way to do it, I think. And yes, it will come up with some weird imbalances here or there. There'll be some codexes, some units that clearly get an advantage from this system. However, it's going to be a lot easier to identify them. A lot easier. If this is worth 30 points and this is worth 20 points, no matter what you put on it. But this can take a lot more... This is 30 points, this is 20 points. But on the 30-point thing, you can only take a couple of things. On the 20-point thing, you can actually take a crap ton of stuff and make it a lot better than the 30-point thing. But you don't pay for anything. It's clearly this is better. And you can take 5 of them, and you can only take 3 of these. It'll be a lot easier for the culprits to shine and for them to go, actually, okay, we need to up those points. And don't mess with the rules when you do your balance date slate changes. Just say, right, those points are going from 30 points to 25 points to 30 points. Just monkey with the points if you have to. On the app, that is going to work. They said it was going to work. Mike Brandt looked right at the camera and said, and this one works. And he got away with saying that on a Warhammer live stream thing, which is a massive admission that the previous one didn't work. Didn't work very well. It's the edges. And then everyone still used Battle Scribe. The one thing I understand but really dislike is the removal of all the little war gear options you could take to flesh out characters or squads. You still can. You can take them. It just doesn't have to pay. Why do we have to have 30 different captains for Space Marines? Exactly. I'd like them to bring captain in Space Marine armor, captain in Gravis armor. Done. And make them, I don't know, just off the top of my head, one of them 90 points, one of them 110 points, done. With 0 war gear option. So you can make them as broken as you want to, because maybe the 90-point one really is only really worth 70 points. But they know you're going to put a jump pack or a storm shield or a thunderhammer or all 3 on, so they've made it 90 points. And the Gravis guy, 110 points, and they know it's only really worth 85 points, but you're going to put the thing on and the thing on and the thing. So they just bake that into the points option. And instead of there being, because there's so many Gravis captains now, and there's so many different, there's the Gravis guy with the shield, there's the Gravis guy with the fist and the chainsword, there's the Gravis guy with the fist and the chainsword and the power sword that came in the Indomitus box. That's just the Gravis guys. Captains, we could be here for days, yo. So just say captain on a bike, captain in Terminator armor, captain in Gravis, captain. And in the captain slot, he could be in Reaver pattern armor. You don't even need a different slot for Reaver guys, because if this guy wears a camo cloak, -1 to hit, and you just put it in the slot. If this guy's got jump pack, double the movement, and just put it on the data sheet. There's lots of ways to make that very simple. Power level is not the most balanced thing ever, but it works to an extent. It was good. Power level was good for Apocalypse games. 10th might be the edition I start playing, so I'm hoping it goes okay. I think the launch of 10th edition will go amazing. I think they're gonna. The ball will come, and they'll swing, and they'll hit the ball, and it will kill one of the squirrels or the penguins that we've been talking about this evening. And blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Everyone will cheer. And Khorne cares not, right? It's going to be it's how quickly the codexes come, how much complexity the codexes add, how much balance comes after, and we know the answer to some of those questions is going to be but overall it's all good news at the start. And overall as well, when some of them break the game, that only affects those people who are really playing at a competitive level or chasing the meta in their local group. For the vast majority of us, it doesn't really affect us. So patches can be put in to protect or to balance mission packs at that level rather than the data sheets at that level. I'm all about playing around with the mission packs. Let's talk about Primaris Lieutenants. Yeah, there's a few of them as well. So like Primaris Lieutenant, I mean, how much is he at the moment? I think he's 70 points, and then you add on Shizzle. So say the Primaris Lieutenant is 80 points, and then options is whatever you want, whatever you get. Yeah. What about First Company Captain, Battle Line Captain, Support Company Captain? Yeah. With these last books coming out while a whole new game is on the radar, it feels a lot like the End Times all over again. I think they saw the massive success which was 8th edition, and they're looking like, hey, what worked in 8th edition? I know, a Primarch came out and we ripped the galaxy in half and indexes. So like, okay, 9th wasn't that successful. Shareholders are beginning to squeak. What do we need to do? I know, let's rip the galaxy in quarters, let another Primarch come out, and let's make it indexes. Let's make all the rules free and things. And then they'll get a massive boost. And please, no Psychic Awakening. I mean, at least there was a glorious moment in 8th edition. People ask me what's the best edition. It stuck with me, actually. The best edition was there was 2 months of 8th edition where the rules were free online. There was Maelstrom of War, the card game. And what tournament players would do is they'd play the Maelstrom of War as secondaries, and they'd play the Eternal War as primaries, and all the codexes came out. I think it was about 18 months in, and everyone had a codex, all the factions, and it was 2 months before Psychic Awakening, and all you needed was the free book online or the core rule book and your codex, and that was it. There was no Psychic Awakening, there was no balanced data sheets, there were a couple of points corrections here or there, and for 2 months. And the tournament results as well, you know, like this, they show on the Meta Watch stuff how varied it is from the top to the bottom. The tournament results were within 10% of each other, from 55 to 45. It was amongst the closest. The Art of War guys, I was listening to them the other day bang on about it, and they would know. It was the most balanced the game had ever been, and the easiest it was to play. And the complexity was very much there for those playing at the tournament scene, because if there isn't a tournament competitive play pack like Arcs of Omen or Warzone Nephilim, all those things, the tournament players will make their own pack. The ITC crowd, the ETC crowd will make their own pack. You don't need to cater to them. But Games Workshop should cater to them and should produce official Games Workshop tournament pack, just as they should cater to Crusade people, just as they should cater to boarding actions, 1,000 points and 2,000 points and narrative, and as many ways to play as possible. And one of the things we see in this new detachment thing, which is pick 3 of anything and up to 6 battle lines, is here you go, here's the sandpit, have fun. I approve. Thoughts about price? Yes, it's quite high. 185 points like Age of Darkness or lower like Indomitus? See, I don't know how much. So was it 185 for Age of Darkness? I do know there was £256 of savings in that Age of Darkness box. So it might have been £185 to buy. But you've also got to remember that Age of Darkness box at £1,185 bought you 2,000 points of Horus Heresy miniatures. It's like, that's an army in 40k for £185. And there was £256 of savings in it. We worked that out on a live stream. Indomitus, it's not going to be 185. It's not going to be a 2,000 points worth of stuff. It's going to be, the price will be somewhere in the 120, 130 mark. And you will save at least double the money. There'll be the Dreadnought in it, won't it? There'll be some beautiful things in it. But you'll save at least double the money. And there'll be a lot of Tyranids appearing online. So if you're a Tyranid player, you can scoop up those second parts. Or if you're a Space Marine player and you're ever thinking about getting a second army, now's the time to get a second army. And Tyranids, they're a great army to play. They're fun to play with. They're fun to play against. I enjoy playing Tyranids. Haven't enjoyed them as much at the end of 9th edition because of the turn-by-turn synaptic imperative crap. That makes my brain bleed, and also the way some of the buffs. So you've got that turn-by-turn mechanic, which you do once per game, but you've also got Hive Tyrants sending their reroll hit rolls of 1 over here, and other things. The two of them together are a bit too complicated for my tiny brain, because then on top of that you've got Catalyst, where this is going and what's that, and those are other buffs. And then you might have Core, and those are other buffs. At least Core is going. Core's gone in the next edition as well, which is glorious. If this unit affects other units, then it affects other units, or not. Yeah, so a captain might give faction units something within 6. But as I said earlier, I hope that isn't the case. I hope a captain joins a unit and therefore buffs that unit. More Xenos versus Xenos, exactly. The Imperium does not need to be the main character all the time. It doesn't need to be it all the time. Imperium players are shareholder, cash cows, whales. Imperium player are share. We all are. The price is just going to make the argument for investing in 3D printing. The price has always made the argument for investing in 3D printing. 3D printing is a hobby in itself. It is. Most people just want to buy a box from Games Workshop. They do. Tyranids are fun, but got too complicated, especially with 2 synapse ranges. Yeah. If I only ever played Tyranids, then that layer of complexity that they have in there and the synapse, it's beautiful, it's elegant, I love it. But they're not the only army I play. But if they were, you can really make that codex sing. It really is a good codex. Except they broke it by giving one of the factions transhuman or mini transhuman on everything. So they've had to points cost upwards so that Hive Fleet Behemoth or Leviathan isn't as broken as it once was. But that means that if you don't bring Hive Fleet Leviathan, everything else is overcosted because they broke it with that particular rule. Bobby Hopper, thank you for your donation. You're always donating. I appreciate you. Winters! He shouted, exclamation marks. Out and out, picking up tiny humans and such. Just wanted to drop in and say, the Emperor protects! Love you, brother. Love you too, Bobby. I'm hoping auras are not a thing in 10th without core. Well, I'm hoping there might be some auras, like a librarian casts a spell and it does a thing. And it affects everything that's not core. And then captains or lieutenants might affect a specific unit. Dan Skippy is gifted 5 memberships. A warm round of applause for Dan Skippy, please. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate you. The rest of the Tyranid book is lovely. Apart from Hive Fleet Leviathan, yeah. They're the only one I play, and it's hard going. Oh, right, okay. Death to the False Emperor. No. I jump about between 4 armies. It's terrible to remember rules, and I lose a lot, but a lot of fun. Yeah, big round of applause. Thank you, Big D, for shouting out. And thanks, Skippy. Thank you for all your memberships. Appreciate you. And Hoppy and Bobby. We're good. So, what are we talking about? Where did we get to? Questions on 10th ed. Questions on 10th ed. Where did we get to? I've seen all the Lion stats before. Someone asked earlier on, have you seen all the Lion stuff? And it sort of bounces off me at this stage because those are going to be his stats for like 2 months. Like 20 attacks or something. It's great, but who's actually going to have him painted and play him before the edition changes? The number of people, that number will be low. Of all the people who'll own him by the time they actually play him, the percentage of people who own him and play with him who actually get to play 9th, it will be like 5%, 1%, don't know. Is 10th coming out after 9th? No, I think 10th is coming out after 11th. I would definitely love to see characters being heroes rather than just handing out buffs. Exactly. I want to see, and one of the ways to protect them is to have them attach to a unit. We'll see if that happens. And until that unit, yeah, we'll see if that happens. Because then they can't be sniped out as well, and then they hate buff, yeah. In the Horus Heresy it works. I haven't got a problem with the old independent character rule. It kind of works. It's not that too complicated. What makes it more complicated is challenges and stuff, but you don't have to have challenges in 40k. Yeah. If toughness goes up, how much do points have to go up? No, they don't have to go up, points. But imagine if anything that is a tank now, like rhinos, predators, wave serpents, Tau, hammerheads, anything that's a tank now gets an extra toughness. And that's the same across the factions. Then the points don't need to go up because it'll be roughly balanced. So it'll be roughly around the same. I mean, if they do go up, there'll be exceptions, not the rule, you know. Because everyone's got tanks, right? So that's just one example of. Also, if you're playing with it at the top end, like the really big stuff, you can put up some points. It doesn't really need to. I'm really hoping terrain will have better guidelines. Yeah, cover and concealment is all you need, and some clear rules about how that interacts with the models. Do you think bigger games will become more popular if it gets streamlined? I think the whole system will get more popular if it gets streamlined. I think 2,000 points will be about it. Wherever tournaments tend to pitch their tent, it tends to be the most popular game type. The most popular average, the one that most people want to see, how well does this army do? But popularity for those game types will increase, just as they'll increase for 3,000 and 4,000. And I know they said there's only 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 point games in the main rulebook, but they're still going to continue with boarding actions and combat patrol. There's going to be something about that. But classical Warhammer 40k, they said, is set for 1,000 points, 2,000 points, or 3,000 points. But yeah, if the whole thing, because I can see a lot more. I can see a big increase in popularity, for example, for 1,000 point games. Definitely. If there's a lot more people getting back into the hobby in particular. So it'll be the 2,000 points that people want to see. The most people want to see 1,000 point games will go up quite a bit, and bigger games will go up quite a bit. And if it is more streamlined, then I didn't do much 4,000. I did recently a 4,000 point game and a 5,000 point game, but I didn't do much in this edition compared to previous editions. Whereas in the previous edition, I'd do one of them every couple of months. I'd do something big. But it became too unwieldy in 9th. I'll definitely do big games. It becomes quite nice. I can easily do 4,000, 5,000 point games in a day. I'll be doing them every couple of months. And they're always popular. We like to see the big explosions. 10th edition will have finally caught up with a number of Space Marine marks. This is an omen. Is this an omen or portent of doom? It's a portent of doom because there's one missing, just like one of the lost Primarchs. Where's number 9? Mark 9. What happened to 2 and 11? I've got some theories on that. Will 10th Ed coincide with Henry Cavill arriving on us? See, this is the thing. Space Marine 2's coming out. That's going to be very popular. We've got Eisenhorn TV series. It's going to be very popular. Henry's done his thing. We had South Park parody. Warhammer 40k in the last 24 hours. It's gone mainstream. We're in the mainstream. And when little Timmy turns up and walks inside the Warhammer store like, you want to say, look, here's the game, here's the free rules, here's your combat patrol, here's your mate's combat patrol. They're balanced against each other, roughly balanced against each other. Go and play. And they can start, boom, like that. Data sheets, rules, go. And before they know it, they're back at their local GW. They're itching and they're shaking a little bit and said, I need some more of that plastic. I need some more of that plastic in my... I need some more. Give me some more plastic. I've got this problem, and this problem is called a tank problem. I've never gone up against tanks before. And the Games Workshop goes, I know what you need. I've got something out back here. And they go out back, and they come back, and they say, this is an Eradicator squad. Take the Eradicator squad home. You need 2 boxes of these. That'll clear up your tank problem. Little Timmy runs off, and he adds the Eradicators to his combat patrol box. And before you know it, in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a month's time, little Timmy is back, shaking in the GW store, itching. He's got a lot paler, bleachy bags under his eyes like that. And little Timmy's like, it's gone horribly wrong. It's gone horribly wrong, man. You weren't there, man. You don't know, man. You don't know. I need some of that. I fixed the anti-tank problem. But these things... they're flying at me from the sky. They're flying at me from the sky. They're so fast. They're so fast. I need to do something about these things flying at me from the sky. Put that in me. Put that in me. Have they got an invulnerable save? No invulnerable save. No invulnerable save. But they're tough and they're big and I can't bring them down. How many in a squad? How many in the squad, little Timmy? They come at me in squads of, say, 6 or 7. Sometimes he's really mean and they're squads of 9 and they're flying towards me and they're horrible. They're called Eldari biker things of doom. And when they touch me, I melt. I need something. He said, here's a squad of 10 assault hellblasters. Take that away, little Timmy. And little Timmy goes, and walks away with his squad of, and he's okay for a while. Meanwhile, his mate Charlie is also getting dealt the bad stuff by the local plastic crack dealer. And then we get lots of battle reports on who's better and who does this and how do you build the thing and how, and then it's the thing and the thing, and they're watching the stuff, and then they end up finding people like me and not talking any sense whatsoever. But that's how it works. This is where we are. I was a little Timmy once. I needed that. It was the Eldari. It pushed me over the edge. You don't know what it was like. We're trying to play the game for the first time properly, really getting our head around it in 4th edition on the dining room table, and we figured that the better way to play instead of this way is, wouldn't it be better if it was longer, and here, there and here, and there's a salt pot and a mug which keeps getting moved because you're drinking from it, and the Eldar are there and the Space Marines are there, and Eldar guns are better than Space Marine guns, and Eldar in close combat are better in close combat. It's just that Eldar guns only shoot and Eldar choppy things only chop. I mean, Striking Scorpions, Howling Banshees just chop. They can't shoot very well. But Fire Dragons can't chop, but they can shoot very well. Or choppy Wraith constructs, they can chop really well, but they don't have any guns. Or the shooty Wraith constructs can shoot really well, but then, you know what I mean? And so and you die, and then you have to get more, and then we figure 1 minute, you don't play that way, then you can flank, and then you can do this, and then we got our head rounds, and then the plastic crack war, man. It lasts for a long time for many of us in this hobby. Some of us manage to get past. Some of us can either just, they can take on as much of that as possible, as much of that drug as possible. But some of us, it sends us over the edge, man. Saragu the third, thank you for your donation. I really appreciate you. Can we have a warm round of applause for Saragu for his donation? He hasn't said anything. He's just tip me $20. I appreciate you, brother. This feels way too close to home. I know, man. Timmy needs his fix. I know, man. Winters, what can we expect with the frequency of your bat reps? There has been a free battle report every other week on YouTube for about 3 years. Every other Sunday, and that continues. So every other Sunday you get a free battle report on YouTube, and sometimes it won't be every other Sunday. Sometimes because of a certain release or because of a certain thing. Warm-handed reports. There you go. Saragu the third. Love you, baby. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. And sometimes because of some releases, instead of waiting 2 weeks, sometimes there's one week and sometimes there's one the other week. So, for example, tomorrow, spoiler, there's going to be one coming out tomorrow, which is a Saturday instead of a Sunday because it's a very special day tomorrow. But so the next free one will actually come out on the Tuesday. So that's happens for it. And then for members, they get one every single Tuesday. But the Tuesday one is going to go out for free, this one, because of the Saturday one. And they also get one on the Sundays. Basically, there's 2 battle reports a week. I aim to make 2 battle reports a week every single week. That's my aim going forward. And one of them in that 2-week period is free. But sometimes 2 of them in that 2-week period will be free. Sometimes 50% of them will be free. Most of the time, 25% of them will be free. Because if it wasn't for the lovely members supporting me, we wouldn't be here. And that's pretty much how it's gone over the last 3 years. But the amount of content will increase for members in particular because of Left Deployment Zone TV. Now, having said all those things, in the run-up to 10th edition, things might get a bit wobbly. Because I haven't played a game of match play, except for Tempest of War, for a year, maybe. And I've been playing a lot of Heresy. And I'm kind of making up my own games in the run-up to 10th. We're loosening up in the run-up to 10th. But when 10th hits, yeah, that's my frequency. For now. So, if you love my battle reports and would like to get more, then become a tier 3 channel member and it unlocks lots of extra battle reports. And it's also a great way to support me. Warm applause. I need the harder stuff. Give me Forge World, baby. Yeah, I mean, that's the end of the plastic crack. It's a, what is it called? Arms race, an arms race, an arms race. And then eventually what happens is, see, I've got a friend who's one of the SEOs who stopped playing in 8th. And the arms race went bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And he's been on the channel in 7th, back when I started. He was James with his Eldar and stuff like that. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then essentially one day Phoenix SEO turned up with the Taunar 1000 point, and there was a couple of games versus the Taunar that Forge World super heavy stuff stopped James playing the game. Because the arms race gets to those crazy heights. I think the key is don't do that. What you can do is talk to your opponent beforehand. Hey, I was thinking about bringing this. What would be cool against it? What do you think? What if we tried out this? What if we tried out that? Talk it through. It's a thing. Timmy needs his plastic. I need my witness. I'm too bored to join the membership. Do more, please. They are the best on the web. Oh, thank you. Yes, well, the thing is, if I am going to do more, and I can't just pump them out for free. I need to reward and entice and encourage members. 50% of the time, it's free 100% of the time. Oh God, I had to get Forge World 2. Tiger Shark, yeah. Barracudas, yeah. XV09s, do you mean the XV99s? They were really good. The XV99s with the 4 long barrel burst cannons, they're still good. And they were Toughness 5. I guess all suits are Toughness 5 now. Storm Eagle gunship. I've got a Storm... You mean something like that? which is going to be added to the Emperor's Children. I started, look at the bend in that thing. Can you guys see that? I started trying to assemble this today. That's just the side panel. Do you realise the amount of hairdryer I'm gonna? This thing is gonna be. Look at that. How am I gonna? So, I mean, that is supposed to slot. That's not gonna. That is. Yeah, that goes there. Allegedly. It doesn't. Anyway, that's one corner. That's just 2 panels and 1 corner. I've got to do that 28 times at the same time with my third arm holding it steady, rested on my belly with elastic bands around it. Well, giving it a good blowjob. Good old resin. Yeah, exactly. Hot water, boiling hot water. Hairdryer also works. Not really bothered with all the big Forge World stuff, but I do want those Raven Guard jump pack troops. They are cool. Gotta love those Forge World quality checks. It's not just that. It's still warm when they put it in the thing, so it bends, it warps. It's always been the same for almost all resin that I've ever got ever. I can't think of any exceptions to the rule. Damn it, I can. The resin stuff that I've got from Den of Imagination has never been warped and fucked. So they must let it like cool somewhere, or have a line of penguins blowing on them to keep them cool before they got Anne hopes for law in 10th. I wonder if they'll allow Pacificus to get eaten. Is anyone of importance there? Only the Emperor of Mankind, Marius. It's going to take the Tyranids a long time to cross the galaxy because the galaxy is really big, so they can have the 4th Tyrannic war, the biggest invasion fleet ever, but how many thousands of years does it take to I mean, it's going to be Warhammer 50k by the time it gets to Terra, surely. I love tanks. Right. Super Glue Activator is the Emperor's gift. March of War and Creature Caster do resin better than Forge World. March of War does do resin better than Forge World. Big shout out to marchofwar.co.uk. I haven't ever had anything from Creature Caster. Yes. So, increased toughness. The new detachments we spoke about. Hire one of those Chilean panpipers to blow on the super glue joints. Nice. So if there's any Chilean panpipers out there that are listening, if you'd like to come over here and blow on my Forge World joints, then get in contact with me. And obviously you have to pay for your own airfare, your own food as well, because I don't know if you've got any allergies or things like that. You know, you're on the other side of there's that long strip, isn't it? The Chile thing. So maybe you can't eat like European food because it's all the chili. Do they eat loads of chili in Chile? I don't know. I had a really big Chilean friend when I was in university. One of my best friends was from Chile. He was a nice guy. Half Chilean, half Portuguese, or he spoke Portuguese. He didn't eat chili all the time. He was a nice guy. Is that where chili comes from? Chili? Because like curry comes from... Where does curry come from? I know curry definitely doesn't come from Dorset. Like potatoes, they come from America. Does chili come from America? Coffee comes from America. Anyone listening from California, keep it up. I'm trying. I don't know where the brain was going there. Hello, California. India. Curry comes from India. But didn't they have curry in like China? Did they have curry in China? Was curry uniquely? I don't know. Chili comes from America. It does come from America. Okay. Like potatoes. Chili peppers are from Mexico. Nice. I like chili peppers. I had burritos this evening. It was lovely. Yeah, so 8th edition. We smashed out the 8th edition stuff. The lion is coming. That's very exciting. Lots of things about the lore and the lion. Teases that he might have been awake and running around for a while. That's very exciting, isn't it? Instead of asleep all this time. There was that thing on the Warhammer community. There's like a book coming, a lion book. And it's like, follow the lion on his journey with his fallen knights, which... that says a lot. But is the journey with his fallen knights after he wakes up or before he wakes up? We don't know. So need to get hands on that book. I've got the Guilliman book down there, which is the first one in the trilogy, which ended up with Plague War Godblight, the Plague War trilogy, which came out with 8th edition. Lapped that up. That was lovely. So looking forward to the Lion one. Yeah, there's a Lion novel coming. 1 minute. Excuse me. Didn't anyone had their earphones in? I have a twisted septum. My nose on the inside. I don't know if you can see. See, my nose goes that way a little bit. This one rubs on the inside, and I sneeze a lot because, yeah, all the time, because it rubs, and it just every now and then irritates every now and then. It makes me sneeze. I've been a big sneezer. Been a big sneezer all my life, and that's the Been a Big Sneezer song. All My Life by Winter's SEO, coming to a Tic Tac near you. It's all good. I don't have a twisted septum and I sneeze just as loud. Yeah. I wonder if he was woken up when the rift opened, or maybe the little space Jawas wake him up all throughout the past 10k years to deal with stuff. Exactly. Maybe the lion, because the little space Jawas took him down into the thing in the rock. The doors locked, closed, in there, done, lion. Maybe as soon as the door was closed, they're like, he's gone. And they take off their space Jawa suits and they hook up into the jetpacks. And, it turns out they're leagues of Votan. And they turn around to the lion, high five each other and go through a warp gate. It's like Stargate down there. And they go through the Stargate on epic adventures once a week, every week, which last about 50 minutes long before stepping back through the Stargate, back inside the rock. And then they quickly put the cows on and stuff like that and open the door and check that, see no one's. And every now and then, like a High Lord or Azrael will turn up and they're like, no, we weren't doing nothing. He's still asleep. He's over there. High Lord, yeah, it's good. He's still asleep. And they're like, and the Jawas are giving nothing away. And occasionally they might see a bit of sand on the floor and like a Horus's, not Horus, but like an Egyptian thing. And they like kick that under the sofa. Or, yeah. Maybe they've been out there partying, They've been out raving, pointing at the lights. They've been out having a jolly good time with his space Jawas. Maybe he's been active, is what I want to say. Or maybe the Lion's book starts after he wakes up. It'd be nice to find out that he's been doing stuff. It'd be nice to find out that there has been one man, one demon hunter, his lone quest through the grim darkness of the far future to find the biggest monsters in the big forest of the universe and slay them and strike them down like, "Durr, I destroy you. My name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my father. Prepare to die." Strike them down, wipe them out, go back to the rock. Things like that. Maybe he's got like a big trophy cabinet inside the room. That's where he's sleeping and the Jawas and things. Behind the wardrobe, you open the wardrobe up, go through that, and inside there's a massive trophy cabinet. And he's got all the heads of all the things that he slayed recently. So massive orc head, a massive tyrannid head, penguin head, things like that in the thing of all his trophies that he's taken. Space MacGyver, exactly. This may have been asked, what are your expectations for Guilliman's reaction to Johnson, considering their past issues with Secundus? Yeah, I don't know. Here's what I'm hoping will happen. The universe is in such a bad state that the lion wakes up or reveals himself to be awake or XY. The lion appears on the world stage. Enter stage left. Lionel Johnson, standing in stage center, reading the latest news bulletins. Guilliman looks to stage left and looks shocked. But behind them, Behind the rear of, on the rest of the stage, there is war. There's people swinging on trapezes. There's trapdoors opening up and people falling through. There's bits of the set falling down. There's the audience laughing at the chaos unfolding behind our two major protagonists. And Guilliman says, "I've really got to check these news reports out." And Guilliman says, "Don't worry, I got this," and goes off to kill some monsters and takes all of his guys with him to do something epic. And that fixes the issue. Guilliman and the Johnson never really have to have a good chat because they're just too busy. Guilliman's really busy. He's putting the last few pieces, he's fixing a big jigsaw puzzle. He's finished off the crosswords. He's downloaded the last 20,000 news reports that happened in the last 2 minutes and has processed them all. He's got things on his plate. He's making sure that every item of food on his plate doesn't touch each other because he's so organized, just like my wife. They must not touch, must not cross streams. Meanwhile, we've got hero Lionel Johnson dancing through the forest, slashing that line, slashing that thing, doing all this stuff. And occasionally Guilliman says, "You all right?" And the lion says, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just carry on over there, Boy Scout, doing your things. Dib, dib, dib. Fuck off. We're over here with the heroes doing their hero stuff." And that's how it goes, yo. And maybe they don't ever have to come sit. I hope it hasn't got them. You say, what is Guilliman and the Lion's reaction? I don't want there to be a Grey's Anatomy moment where Meredith Grey is sat at the table and Guilliman is there saying, "Look, I tried to hold this all together." And then Shepard is there and he's like, "Well, I love you, Meredith." And then the Lion's there saying, "What the hell am I doing in this scene?" And then Guilliman says, "We have to talk about our feelings now." And the Lion says, "Bugger this," drops a melter bomb, run. I hope they don't have those moments. The Lion isn't very good on his feelings. He doesn't really like... he's got a couple of feelings, and the one he really enjoys the most is kill everything feeling. That's the one he has a great deal of fun for. Another great feeling that the Lionel Johnson has is do what I say or I'll kill everything feeling. That's another one of his. He's very... It says in the lore, and it was in his Primarch novel as well, that the Lion was the closest to the Emperor of mankind. That's one of the reasons why he felt he was the first. He was Primarch of the First Legion. He was the first one designed. And the Raven Wing, the Iron Wing, the Fire Wing, the Death Wing. These are all prototype detachments and prototype ways of waging warfare that the First Legion tested and trialed before legions were even born. And the ones that worked... Hey, look, the Fire Wing works really, really well. Okay, you're now... the ways of war that worked, they kept hold of and exported out into the other legions, which adapted, before they were legions, the other formations, the other companies, adapted to the way of war that best suited their gene seed and martial training. But the First Legion, before it was even Legion, trialed it first. And the Lion was closest to the Emperor, which means that's why he isn't emotionally... He doesn't resonate emotionally the same way that normal humans do, because he's not a normal human. Another way of putting it is, I forget, I think it's Alferis, like we all lie. All the Primarchs are lying all the time, pretending that they're... So, one of the Primarch's flaws is they are human. They are subject to jealousy and bitterness and all those other things. But then also very much not human. And 90% of the time they're playing the role of a general, or playing the role of being human, or playing the role of being understanding. Magnus was very bad at disguising that. A chunk of the time in the Thousand Suns book, Magnus just appears as Magnus is, which is he's barely of this world. He's barely corporeal at all. He's incorporeal most of the time. And yeah, I think Alfaria says the Lion doesn't bother trying to pretend that he's like one. He's not a superlative legionary. He's not a praetor. He's not a chapter master. He's not the best example of the Space Marine kind. That's not what a Primarch is. A Primarch is radically inhuman, pretending being human, and weighed down with human flaws at the same time. And Lionel Johnson didn't even bother pretending to be human. Didn't even bother pretend to understand humans, and couldn't understand humans. Wayne Pickett, thank you for becoming a tier 3 channel member. I really appreciate you. That unlocks lots of extra videos and things. So I hope you enjoy all the extra videos and come join us in the Discord, say hi. Was he the first? What was he actually first in? 7th to be discovered, 2nd to return, not even the first Primarch to leave during the heresy. Yeah, well, he's Primarch of the First Legion. So in the Alfarius book, for example, Primarch book, where you see them deployed on Terra for the first time, Space Marines officially deployed on Terra. There would have been many occasions where they weren't. Before anyone was arranged into any type of legion ever, there was Dark Angels. The Dark Angels were the First Legion. With except yeah. Have you read the latest Siege of Terra? Yes. What do you think about the Custodes and the Emperor bit? Yes, I understand the bit that you mean. Without spoilers, with it being newish. Yeah, so the Emperor says what he says, and the Custodes ask what he asks. What do I think of it? There's also a short story. It's not the first time something like this has come up. There's a short story called The Board is Set, which is Malcador the Sigillite and the Emperor playing Regicide. And each of them taking turns. Each of them taking the turn of playing Horus versus the Emperor. One of them taking the traitor fleet and Regicide, and they play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. And in that book comes up the notion that the Emperor doesn't really know what might happen next. Just because you don't know what might happen next, it doesn't mean that you haven't planned for eventualities. I mean, he has. This is not spoiler territory. It turned out that the Golden Throne was perfectly suited to keep alive a being of his magnitude if something horrible happened. So we know the Golden Throne was also part of the Webway project, but it was the perfect thing that he needed if all else failed. So that was kind of baked into his so there's lots of redundancies baked into the Emperor's plan, and that's another thing. People talk about the Emperor's plan. I don't think it works like that. I think the Emperor had many plans and many ideas and many stratagems. Just like when you play chess, you've got some ideas to do this, some ideas to do that. Sometimes it worked for the Ruinous Powers. Sometimes it didn't work for the Ruinous Powers. The Cygnus Cluster and the Blood Angels is the perfect example of something that didn't work out for the Ruinous Powers. So it's not a plan, it's plans and strategies and things. And not knowing doesn't mean not knowing everything. Doesn't mean it could mean not knowing everything. It could mean not knowing something. It could not mean, yeah. So I know the bit. I don't think it has as much resonance as some people are tying it to it, and I think I may have given it all away, but I don't think it really breaks anything. And if it did, I'm terribly sorry. But this is what I do in live chats. Wayne Pickett, tier 3. Have we said hello already? If I haven't said hello, thank you so much. And Ginger Steve has upgraded to the 13th, tier 3. Awesome. Hi, Ginger Steve. Thank you for upgrading. Will you expand on your Dark Angels collection in 10th? Never say never. I would like to, is the answer. Particularly when I would like to expand to the Dark Angels collection. Den of Imagination Painting Studio is the greatest painting studio in the in the Sol system, sorry, I was distracted by something that popped up on the computer there, have already got 2 armies that they're painting for me right now. Death Guard and Sons of... Well, they're doing the Death Guard Horus Heresy Force, and they're adding about twice as much again to the Sons of Horus Heresy Force that I've got. I'll try and throw... I'd like to throw them some Raven Wings, because I've got about, depending on how many points you think it is, between 1,500 and 2,000 points of Death Wing. I think I'd like to really add to the Raven Wing. I definitely want to get the Lion, because now I've got the Mortarion and Angron up there, and I really like the way Angron came out. I think I painted him beautifully, if I do say so myself. Mind you, it was such an easy model to paint as well, because it's such a big, there's no edge highlighting, lots of metallics. I found it a joy to paint, I found it easy to paint, and I like the result that I ended up with. I surprised myself sometimes, and now I've got them 2 sat there. Now I need the Lion, and now I need Guilliman, and now I need Magnus, because Fulgrim's going to be coming soon, and then Perturabo. So I need all of them. Got to catch them all. Can I read Dark Imperium, or do I need to read other books first? No, you can start with Dark Imperium. It's a pretty good place to start. Plans within plans within plans. Exactly. What faction do you plan to build for 10th? For 10th, the Tyranid release is going to be the largest plastic release they've done ever, they say, for a follow-up faction. So I don't plan to build a new one. I plan to work on the Tyranids. They're also easy to paint as well. So I'm really looking forward to adding some juice to High Fleet Kraken. I might actually have to put my Horus Heresy bingo crawl on hold to smash out a good couple of 1,000 points of Tyranids would be nice. They'll release new Deathwing miniatures in the next few months. Yeah, I mean, they can. They got the new Tyranid box, the new Terminator box, so chucking a sprue, Deathwing, bam. Which loyal living Primarch would Guilliman be happiest to see return? Loyal living Primarch, would he be happiest to see return? Well, it would be Sanguinius, but he's dead. Who did he get on the most with? Vulcan. No, it won't be the Khan. Vulcan, Dawn. So I'd say Corax. Him and Dawn had a cordial relationship. No one was that friendly with Khan because they didn't know him. Sanguinius is dead. Corax immediately sprang to mind because I do know that there's a large portion of Raven. It's said in the lore that during the heresy, the Raven Guard often worked hand in hand with the Lunar Wolves and with the Ultramarines. Horus very much like the Raven Guard, and he's got tip of the spear tactics. Horus, like, the only war is a quick war. Therefore, to make the war as quick as possible, it needs to be as brutal as it can be. Spear tip, heading for the thing, destroy the parliaments, destroy the global, if they were attacking Earth, it'd be NATO, UN, and all the high commands of all the places on Earth at the same time, and it'll be over in an hour. It'd be done. Spear tip strikes. And then if there was any uprising here or there, bam, dead, nuke a city, done. And they really like the Raven Guard because the only good war is a quick war. The Raven Guard were able to win wars by doing their SAS hit and run behind the scenes stuff. And they worked a lot with the Sons of Horus, Lunar Wolves, and they worked a lot with Guilliman. Guilliman really liked them for exactly the same thing. They are very specific. So in conventional Legion strategy, like the Sons of Horus, like the Lunar Wolves and the Ultramarines, they're very much a mirror of each other, those two legions. In convention, and they very much excelled in conventional warfare with some specialisms. They worked hand in hand with the Raven Guard a lot. So Guilliman's and Corax's relationship would have been very cordial. Not that we got to see it in the Horus Heresy. Now, it wasn't Vulcan or Dawn. No, Vulcan and Guilliman knew each other, appreciated each other, blah, blah, blah. But Vulcan is very much an introvert. Dawn, I mean, Dawn is a fascinating and very interesting character. He's not boring at all. He's got lots of depth to him, and I really like. And he's actually one of the most rounded Primarchs by the time of the end of the Heresy. He's a good egg to read about. But his utter stoicism made him distant from his brothers. So I've never read Couch Warrior. If I have never read any Warhammer books ever, is there a good series of books anyone could recommend? Gaunt's Ghost and Eisenhorn said Legio Panda, and I would concur. Eisenhorn trilogy is normally a very good start because it's a trilogy and it ends. And if you like it, you can do Ravener, which is a follow-on trilogy, which is set in the same series, but it starts like 50 years later or 80 years later, or it starts a good chunk later. Gaunt's Ghost is up to about 20 plus books now, but the first one, The Founding, is a good 4 books long and is good. But it starts slow, Gaunt's Ghost. It's harder to get into than... Some people don't get Gaunt's Ghosts and put it down before they get to the Verven War, Hive War, which is book 3 or 4, and then it's awesome, and then it keeps going on. The thing about the Gaunt's Ghost series is the next season is 4 seasons, and each season is better than the one before. It just gets better and better and better. But the first season is 7 out of 10, except for the last book, which is 9 out of 10. Whereas Eisenhorn is not. It's Inquisition. It's not Space Marines. It's not war. It tells you more about the overall Warhammer 40k setting. And Eisenhorn is just such a compelling character, and his retinue that follow him are just such compelling characters. And the story's good, and Cheruble's good, and there's a Titan in it in the first trilogy. It's good. There's a reason why they're making Eisenhorn into a TV show. There was a mention of Guilliman training with Corax in some virtual reality thing, wasn't there? Yes, I think there was. Can't remember. The Codex argument led to the Black Templars. It's a bit broader than that. Anyone else see Baron von Munchausen yeah, I get it. Oof, Necropolis was such a good Gaunt's Ghost books. Yeah, I think it's the third one is it the third or fourth in the Founding series? Necropolis is the third or fourth book. It's the last book in the Founding series of the Gaunt's Ghosts. And when you get to that one, you're like, damn, this shit is good. It's so good. It's so good that by the time you finish Necropolis, you immediately pick up the next one. And but Eisenhorn is normally where I'd say tell people to start off. But Gaunt's Ghosts is both of them 10 out of 10. Would bang. Read them. Anyway, I think I've been banging on for a long time. I started about 8:30, so it's an hour and a half. What does this tell me up here? Does it tell me time? I don't think it even tells me time, how long I've been on. How long have I been on? Anyone know? Third book. Okay. It's the third book. Yeah, so I think I've been on for a long time. I'm running out of water. We've spoken a lot about 10th. So it's 105 minutes. How can you see that? There must be something up here. It tells me up here 145 minutes. 1 hour and 45 minutes. That can't be right. Can it? I found a thing. So 1 hour and 45 minutes. That is right. Look, I found it. There's an actual thing clicking down in the corner of my screen. Basically, I've got a screen up here where I see exactly the same thing as you, but up there, try and do that backwards. It turns out there's a timer. I just found it over there. 1 hour and 46 minutes. Yeah, so we've been 2 hours minimum. Come on, man. Well, if you've got any more questions, let's wrap this up unless there's a last barrage of questions, because I could do with a cup of tea. Horrible weather today, right? It's actually storming outside. It's been raining. I'm trying to play. Doing that. I showed apothecaries coming for the Palatine Blade Squad, because that unit of 10 Palatine Blades, you need an apothecary in there. Storm Eagle I showed you. Battle Report coming out tomorrow. And then another one on Tuesday. What's your go-to tea? Milk, 2 sugars, Builder's Brew. Come on now. there's only one tea. Anything else that's not a builder's brew is not tea. Like she drinks like fermented ginger with lemon peel and unicorn tears. That's not a tea, is it? Without milk or sugar in it. I don't understand. Obviously, the Emps will speak to the lion. Any expectations? Maybe he won't. Maybe the Emperor will not speak to the lion. And when the Emperor spoke to Guilliman, there was nothing. It doesn't. Those conversations don't go anywhere, even if there is a conversation. They're not changing the Emperor's law anytime soon. They just started bringing back the Primarchs. We've got another 9 to go before you have to start knocking on the Emperor's door to really shake that down. And by the time all the other 9 come out, and Valdor and Extant Space and that side of things gets answered, by the time all that happens, they don't really need to drag the Emperor into. They need the idea of the Emperor on his golden throne, the God Emperor of mankind, is basically one of the bedrocks upon which the Warhammer 40k IP is fixed. So the guys can talk to the Emperor every now and then. The Emperor can talk to the guys every now and then, but it's not that. It doesn't grab me, those sorts of things, because it's always words for the sake of words. It's always delay. It's always that in a minute. It's always here's something mysterious. It's all glamour and games. There's nothing meaty there. If you want the meat when the Emperor speaks, or Malcador speaks, or Valdor speaks, you need to read the Horus Heresy, and that does give you some meat. Is Alpharius Omegon the best Primarch, and why is your answer yes? No. He's a very good Primarch. They're very interesting. The Primarch novels, Alpharius and Kurz, those are the 2 best Primarch novels, and his story comes alive in the Primarch. I very much like him. Very much. Japan would like a word with you concerning tea. As an Argentinian, I'm expected to like mate, but I'm a coffee man myself. Nothing like some black liquid gold to start a day of painting and existential pondering. Exactly. What do you think Guy Healy was setting up by allowing the book of the history of the Imperium Secundants to be let loose? I don't think it really... The book... I don't... Well, what authors do is they let these threads go. And in the future, that thread might be picked up by someone. It's a normal... It's one of the tricks of writing good lore, writing good history, writing a good novel. You deliberately have some there are threads that you don't tie up anyway. Things that happen, things that start, things that get pushed in certain directions. There are loose threads. There are loose threads in any good narrative. And there are some deliberate loose threads in any good narrative. And most of the time, some authors know what they want to do with some of the threads if they get a chance to come back. Most artists know what they want to do with that particular comic or that particular film or that particular... If they have a chance to come back, have a look at these sorts of threads. But some of the threads are just there because you never know what someone else might think or what you might think in 3 years' time or 5 years. I don't think there was a deliberate intent, because it seems to me that the knowledge of Imperium Secundus getting out, even if it got out to the fullest extent in the 41st millennium, I can't see how much it would change anything, considering the state of the 41st millennium, without deliberately getting hold of that thread and saying, okay, here's a thread, now here's some cultists, now here's this guy, and really doing something with it. I think that thread needs more work done. If it had got out like 100 years after the Horus Heresy, 1,000 years after if it had got out during the Scouring, if it had got out when the other Primarchs elected Guilliman to be the head of the Imperium, and help reorganize everything, because you're good at that sort of thing, Guilliman. Here's a pad, here's a pen, go away and help us reorganize everything after this mess. And Guilliman was like, okay, and did the second founding and did all the things that Guilliman did. If it had come out then they might not have tried to, then it would probably have been very bad for him. But in the 41st millennium, I can't see it being too much of a problem. Thanks for your openness on mental health. No problem. I hope you're feeling better, bud. Jax Wood. It's most likely that Alfair is the first month. Is Alfair's book Oh My God Dies? Yeah. So Alfair. Yeah. Ziegel, I appreciate you. Yeah, it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to talk about it, and we should, and we must. If you have problems, if you have something that needs to be said, then say it to someone. And I try and practice what I preach. I don't know much about Alferus and Omegon. They must have been Primarch sized. They were Primarch sized and they were not Primarch sized. So every Primarch had a superpower, and some had more than one. So some of them could turn completely invisible. Some were Psychers. Some had wings growing outside their back. And Alfaris / Omegon could appear as anyone. So they could appear fully Primarch size if they want to, or they could appear as, they could appear as anyone. It's unclear whether they're doing the full mystique from X-Men, as in fully morphing into and actually really appearing that way, or whether it's a bit more like the Emperor and Malkador and their glamour, as in, it's probably true that the Emperor's form underneath doesn't change from Revelation to the Emperor to the Kingmaker to the different faces that he wants to show. It's probably a glamour, and people only see what they want to see of him at the time. And it might be like that with Alfarius, that he actually doesn't change in size, but it appears that he changes in size, but he actually does change in size in some of the books. He does shrink down. It's like Korax can go invisible, but he's not invisible. It's just that people cannot see him when they look directly at him. Korax could walk through a crowded disco and people would dance and move around out of his way perfectly. He wouldn't have to dodge. He wouldn't have to step right or left. He would walk through, and reality would range itself around him, including all the music and all the lights and all the dancers and all the stuff. So no one ever saw him or trod on his toe once. But he's not really invisible. It's just that's how it works. It's warp stuff. It's warp MacGuffery. And Omegon could appear as anyone. That was his superpower. So sometimes he does appear very big. Like GSC shenanigans, yeah. Warp stuff, exactly. I am Alfarius. Anyway, so I think that actually rounded it up. That was the last bit of questions that you bumped in at the end. We've closed this off now. Close it off. We'll nail down the lid. I'll drag the conversation into the garden, bury it under soft peat, and walk away and have a lovely cup of tea. In the meantime, this was quite good fun. I like touching base with you guys. It's nice, isn't it? Talking about 10th edition and things like that. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your donations and the super chats and things. Waving hands in the air. Good yeah. When am I next? So, like I said, video tomorrow. When am I next going to be live? I don't know. I might try and get on over the weekend. We shall see. Thanks for the stream. Cheers for the stream, Alfarius Winters. So, yes. Thank you for watching and listening and joining in. Have a lovely weekend. Be good to each other. Be nice. As Bill and Ted said, be excellent to each other. And happy wargaming.